Alisher Usmanov is an Uzbek-born Russian business magnate. According to March 2014 Forbes website data, the oligarch Usmanov is Russia's richest man, with a fortune estimated at $18.6 billion, and the world's 34th richest person. According to the December 2013 Bloomberg Billionaires Index, he has an estimated net worth of $19.6 billion, making him the 37th richest person in the world. In May 2014, the Sunday Times listed him as the second richest person in the UK with an estimated fortune of £10.65 billion. He built his wealth through metal and mining operations, and investments, and is the majority shareholder of METALLOINVEST, a Russian industrial conglomerate, which consolidated in 2006 JSC METALLOINVEST, a unregistered trademark S assets with those of Gazmetall JSC. He owns the Commerçant publishing houses. He is a co-owner of Russia's second-largest mobile telephone operator, Megafon, and co-owner of the Mail.ru Group, the largest internet company in the Russian-speaking world, which owns stakes in popular web portals like Odnoklassniki, Contact and others. Usmanov is the largest investor of Digital Sky Technologies funds, and holds shares in a number of international technology companies. Usmanov is the president of the FI, the international governing body of fencing, and he has invested in fencing programs and fencing development around the globe. He is also a shareholder in Arsenal Football Club. In February 2008, his METALLOINVEST also became sponsor of Dynamo Moscow, the Russian capital's football team. His METALLOINVEST Group's name replaced the Xerox Corporation's on its players' shirts as part of the $7 a million deal. Brief biography: Usmanov was born in Uzbekistan in a provincial town of Kust but spent his childhood in the capital Tashkent where his father was a state prosecutor. Planning to pursue a career of a diplomat, he later moved to Moscow and joined Moscow State Institute of International Relations, from which he graduated in 1976 with a degree in international law. He was arrested and convicted on fraud charges in Uzbek SSR in August 1980 and imprisoned for 6 years of an 8-year sentence. This conviction was vacated in July 2000 by the Supreme Court of Uzbekistan, when it ruled that the original conviction was unjust, no crime was ever committed, and that the evidence was fabricated. Usmanov, who is Muslim, married Jewish Irina Viner, a top rhythmic gymnastics coach, in 1992. He attended the Academy of Finance to study banking beginning in 1997. Although Usmanov has no biological children, through his wife Irina Viner, Usmanov has a stepson, who has become a real estate investor, currently constructing 30 real estate projects. Usmanov is a close personal friend of Roman Abramovich, who owns Chelsea Football Club, and the two shared the same circle of friends in Russia. Usmanov owns sprawling Sutton Place, Surrey, the former home of J. Paul Getty, in addition to a £48 million London mansion. Philanthropy, charity fund OE Art, Science and Sport founded by Alisher Usmanov is in close cooperation with London the unregistered trademark Estate Britain. Together they carried out several projects in Russia such as the Turner exhibition in 2009 and the Pre-Raphaelites exhibition in 2013. On September 17, 2007, Usmanov paid more than £20 a million for an art collection owned by the late Russian cellist Mstislav Rostropovich, days before it was to be auctioned by Sotheby's in London. He gave all the artwork to the Russian state, where it is housed in the Konstantinovsky Palace near St. Petersburg. Later that same month he purchased the rights to a large collection of Soviet cartoons, which for 15 years had been owned by Russian-born actor Oleg Vadov, who emigrated to the United States in 1985. After the deal, valued at $5 10 a million, Usmanov donated the cartoon collection to a newly formed Russian children's television channel. Usmanov is a member of the board of Russian Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs and the chairman of the Russian Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs Committee on Regulatory Activity Improvement and Removal of Administrative Barriers. He is also one of the founders of the Arts and Sports Charity Foundation and a guarantor of the charity project OE 1000 Russian cities Euro. Usmanov is a trustee for a range of social, educational and cultural organizations, including the Russian Geographical Society, Moscow State Institute of International Relations, National Research University Higher School of Economics, and European University in St. Petersburg. According to Presidential Decree No. 365 of March 17, 2004, Usmanov was awarded with the Medal of Honor of Russia. In 2011, Usmanov received the Order of Friendship of the Republic of Kazakhstan. In 2013, he was awarded the Order for Service to the Fatherland IV class in recognition of his services to the state, as well as his community and charitable activities. In the same year, he was awarded a medal €1 for contribution to international cooperation, a €1 unregistered trademark by the Foreign Ministry of Russia. In 2014, Usmanov received the Order of Alexander Nevsky for his community and charitable activities. According to the Sunday Times Giving List 2013, Usmanov was one of the most significant philanthropists, having donated £112.6 million in the preceding 12 months. Business interests: USM Holdings and METALLOINVEST. Usmanov has a 60% economic interest and 100% voting rights in USM Holdings, a global conglomerate with main investments in metals and mining industry, telecommunications, technology, and media. Through USM Holdings and as an individual investor, Usmanov owns diverse interests including stakes in iron ore and steel, media and internet companies. He is the co-owner of METALLOINVEST, which he founded along with business partner Vasily Anisimov in order to manage his acquisitions in the metal industry. METALLOINVEST owns a wide range of Russian metal and mining businesses including Lebedinsky GOK and Mikhailovsky GOK. Oskol Electrometallurgical Plant and Ural Steel steel mills and a ferrous scrap enterprise, a Ural Scrap Company. It also has interests in auxiliary businesses including 21% of Nautilus Minerals, which explores the ocean floor for polymetallic sulfide deposits, 100% of Baikal Mining Company, which owns the license to one of the world a unregistered trademark's largest copper deposits, and 5% of Norilsk Nickel, the world a unregistered trademark's largest producer of nickel and palladium and one of the leading producers of platinum and copper. Since 2006, he has acquired stakes in Australia-based mining companies, Medusa, Mount Gibson and Aztec Resources through Gallagher Holdings, now USM Holdings. In 2009, METALLOINVEST Holding has sold its 10.37% stake in Australian gold producer Medusa Mining. Usmanov is the largest shareholder in London-listed Nautilus Minerals, which is prospecting undersea gold and copper deposits off Papua New Guinea. He has also purchased, through Gallagher Holdings, an interest in Australian mining company Strike Resources, which is working on an iron ore deposit in Peru. Mail.ru Group. In May 2009, Digital Sky Technologies, a company in which he owns a 17.9% stake, paid $200 million for a 1.96% stake in social networking website Facebook. Mail.ru made notable investments in other international technology companies, including Facebook, Twitter, Groupon, Zynga, Airbnb, Zocdoc, Alibaba and 360buy. MegaFon. Usmanov is a co-owner of Russia's second-largest mobile telephone operator, MegaFon. The carrier's subscriber base has grown significantly in the past decade, exceeding 65 million members. Apple investment. In 2013, he was said to have invested $100 million in Apple. He subsequently disposed of his shares in early 2014. Gazprom Invest Holdings. He is the general director of Gazprom Invest Holdings, the investment holding subsidiary of Russia's state-owned gas company Gazprom. Usmanov has been credited with the successful architecting and implementation of Gazprom's strategy for recovering assets and shares. In 18 months, between 2002 and 2003, he had effectively secured the state control of Gazprom and reversed a decade of asset stripping. Commerçant and media firms. In August 2006, Usmanov began to invest in media. He bought Commerçant, a newspaper formerly owned by Russian oligarch Boris Berezovsky. The deal was finalized at $200 million. Usmanov also made a $25 million purchase of a 50% stake in Russian sports TV channel 7 TV in November 2006 and bought 75% of Russian TV music channel MUZ TV for $300 million in June 2007. Usmanov is currently a co-owner of the media holding company UTH, which holds 51% of Disney Russia and 100% of Muse TV and U Television channels. Usmanov worked as the Deputy General Director of Intercross JSC from 1990 to 1994, and from 1994 to 1998, he headed Interfin Interbank Investment and Finance Company. He also acted as an advisor to the General Director of Moscow Aviation Industrial Enterprise from 1994 to 1995, and served as the first Deputy Chairman of MAPO Bank from 1995 to 1997. Usmanov has a significant ownership in Arsenal FC. Sport-related activities. Arsenal FC. Usmanov moved into the football arena in August 2007 by acquiring a 14.58% stake in the English team Arsenal Football Club. He and his business partner Farhad Moshi rebought the stake in the club owned by former Arsenal vice-chairman David Derwin for £75 million. David Derwin was appointed as head of their investment vehicle, Red and White Holdings, which became the largest shareholder in the club outside of members of their board of directors. On September 28, 2007, it was announced that Red and White Holdings had increased its shareholding to 23%, making it the second largest shareholder in the club behind Danny Fissman on 24%. On February 15, 2008, he increased it further to over 24%, giving him a stake just short of Arsenal non-executive director and major shareholder Danny Fissman's 24.11%. However, there was speculation that Usmanov might already be the club's largest shareholder at 24.2%, which he later increased to 25% on February 16, 2009. Red and White Holdings confirmed on February 28, 2008 that it was the club's largest shareholder, and the company said it has the necessary funding to increase its stake further, but it has no current intention to make a full takeover bid for Arsenal for 6 months. If the stake were to reach 30%, Red and White Holdings would have to launch a formal takeover. Usmanov said he had been an Arsenal fan for 7 years and he had a great love for Arsenal. Usmanov's interest precipitated a lockdown agreement by the Gunners board, whereby Chairman Peter Hill would announce that club directors could sell their stakes only to permitted persons before April 2009, and had to give fellow board members first option on shares until October 2012. However, there was a termination clause in the agreement in October 2010. "The lockdown makes us bulletproof," said the then Arsenal managing director Keith Adelman. American businessman Stanley Kroenke, already a major Arsenal shareholder, increased his stake in the club to just over 62% in April 2011 after buying out Fissman and Lady Nina Brackewell-Smith, making him the majority shareholder. As Kroenke's stake had risen above 30%, he was obliged to make an offer to buy out the remainder of Arsenal shares. Usmanov refused to sell, however, and maintained his stake. Usmanov increased his Arsenal FC share beyond 29% in June 2011. Red and White Holdings announced on June 20, 2011 that it had more than 29% stake in Arsenal Holdings plc. This was further increased after Usmanov purchased shares held by Scottish football club Rangers in February 2012. As of October 2013, he owned over 30% of the club. Usmanov criticised Arsenal's lack of ambition and financial model in an open letter sent to the board on July 5, 2012. This criticism came as consequence of the Dutch football player Robin van Persie's decision not to extend his contract. Usmanov, who remains a major shareholder, states that he has no intention of selling his shares. A month later, he reiterated his view that the current politics of the club's management were in part responsible for Arsenal's failure to win trophies. International Fencing Federation, a former sabre fencer who fenced for the former Uzbek Soviet Socialist Republic, Usmanov invested in the promotion of fencing through his charity fund Euro OE for the Future of Fencing Euro, created in 2004. and was president of the Russian Fencing Federation from 2001 to 2009 and of the European Fencing Confederation from 2005 to 2009. He was elected president of the International Fencing Federation during the 2008 Paris Congress with 66 votes to 61 for incumbent president Rina Copyright-Roch. He was re-elected at the 2012 Moscow Congress with 127 votes. The International Charity Fund for the Future of Fencing. In 2005, the International Charity Fund for the Future of Fencing was founded by Alisher Usmanov. The mission of the charity fund is to facilitate the international popularization of fencing and to raise it to a higher level worldwide. Specialized Endowment Fund to support veterans fencing. In 2012, Mr. Alisher Usmanov announced that a Specialized Endowment Fund to support veterans fencing has been created. The fund is capitalized with $15 million, the amount allocated by the International Charity Fund for the Future of Fencing. Other sport-related activities. Usmanov is a member of the councils of the 2014 Sochi XXII Olympic Winter Games and 11 Paralympic Winter Games. He is also a member of the Board of Trustees of the Russian Olympian Sportsman Support Fund. Controversies. Commerçant. On December 12, 2011, following the 2011 Russian protests regarding vote rigging in parliamentary elections, the weekly Commerçant Vlast magazine ran an unflattering issue on Vladimir Putin titled "Victory of United Ballot Stuffers," a pun on Putin's United Russia Party. Usmanov sacked the editor, Maxim Kowalski, and the head of the publisher's holding company, Andrei Galayev, saying there had been an ethical breach, and that the issue bordered on petty hooliganism. The controversy surrounded an image of a ballot paper from the parliamentary vote with the words "Putin, go fuck yourself" scrawled in red ink. The caption read, "A correctly filled out ballot recognized as invalid." Demian Kudryavtsev, the head of the Commerçant publishing house, assumed responsibility by resigning, stating in a blog post that the magazine issue had been in violation of internal procedures, professional journalistic standards and the Russian law. Nadezhda Azjana, executive secretary of the Russian Union of Journalists, was shocked by the incident, calling it a clear example of censorship from the owner. On December 14, 60 journalists from the Commerçant newspaper signed an open letter to Usmanov, saying, "We are being compelled to be cowards, which is unworthy and unproductive. We regard Kowalski's dismissal as an act of intimidation aimed at preventing any critical words about Vladimir Putin. We take particular offense at the attempt to present the dismissal of a man for his professional position as a fight for the purity of the Russian language. This is the same kind of fabrication that offended people at the election." Usmanov responded that emotionally, he could understand the journalists speaking up for sacked top managers, but that Commerçant Vlast is a respectable, independent, socio-political publication. Mikhail Prokhorov, who had announced his candidacy for the 2012 presidential election, offered to buy Commerçant on the same day, but Usmanov rejected the offer. Wikipedia. On November 12, 2012, the British newspaper The Times claimed that London-based PR firm RLM Finsbury had edited Usmanov's article on the online encyclopedia Wikipedia to remove negative information about their client. The Prairie firm admitted the actions and stated that they had acted on their own, without the authorization of their client. The information was said to have been removed in expectation of the stock market listing of Megafun, which is controlled by Usmanov. PR industry commentators blamed Wikipedia's internal policy and structure on amending inflammatory content, with PRCA Director General Francis Ingham suggesting that the process was opaque, time-consuming and cumbersome. See also, List of Russian billionaires, Russian oligarchs, references. External links. Alisher Usmanov collected news and commentary at Bloomberg News, Russian capitalist wiki profile.